Hey everyone, it's Richard Metal Fan here, bringing you guys a brand new 2020 album review. And today we're going to be looking into the new album from the Amity Affliction entitled Everyone Loves You Once You Leave Them, which was released through Pure Noise Records. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with the Amity Affliction, they're a metalcore band based out of Australia that formed in 2003. And I've pretty much discovered Amity Affliction back around pretty much in the middle of 2015 or so. Oh, and I heard one song from them, like Chasing Ghosts or something, and that was like, damn, and I went and checked all their other stuff. And I'm surprised they had been around since 2003, which I didn't even know they were been around for that long, considering like their older stuff, like their music video for Sleepless Winter, which they had like a whole different member changes. In fact, the only original member is, of course, bassist and vocalist Aaron Stringer. He's like the only original guy left. And these guys have pretty much a lot of different lineup changes and stuff. Have been pretty much going with their debut full-length album Severed Ties, which came out in 2008, which definitely has a lot of that metalcore style, a lot of heavier edge to it, but also have a little bit of electronic-y stuff to it, kind of like similar to their next album, 2010's Young Bloods, which I thought was a pretty good album. But I feel like Amity kind of really broke big with their 2012 album Chasing Ghosts, which in my opinion is probably my favorite Amity Affliction album. But it sort of like steers away with less electronic-y stuff. But yeah, it pretty much has a little bit more just like guitars and stuff, which is just great. Then 2014 with Let the Ocean Take Me, another great album. I really think it's great. It's pretty much Amity was in their peak a little bit. But then we go into 2016 with their album This Could Be Heartbreak, and you could definitely tell there's a little bit of a change with Amity's sound, which a little bit more of softer styles. I was in for the first time in a couple songs where they actually incorporated guitar solos, which I don't think has never been heard for on previous Amity albums. But then we get to their last album, 2018's Misery, which I know some Amity fans are probably going to hate me when I say this, but I just didn't really like that album at all. I mean, I can understand like the band wanting to like change and stuff. Like it was like the introduction with Joel Birch, their harsh vocalist, actually doing clean vocals on a couple songs, which I will give him that he actually is a pretty good singer. Like him, and of course Aaron's doing the main clean vocals is just great. I mean, I can understand like them doing something different, and then I heard they were releasing this album, and I was kind of a little bit skeptical. Like I hope it wasn't like Misery. And I first heard this album, like the first single they put out, and I was like, damn, they actually got heavy again. And then I was hoping the rest of the album would be like that, and of course it is. Like I think it's pretty much a good return to form, and I honestly think this is the best that Amity has sounded probably since Chasing Ghosts, in my honest opinion. Like the vocal work from Joel and Aaron are great. Like Joel's like harsh vocals complemented with Aaron's clean singing is just great. The guitar work from Dan Brown is just so tight as ever. He does a little different things, like especially with like guitar solo. The bass I kind of wish was a little bit audible. I wish I could hear Aaron's bass a little bit more. And drumming wise, Joe Longobardi's pretty much a solid lead drummer. Pretty much been with the band for a couple years now after Ryan Burt left. So yeah, without further ado, let's just dive into this album track by track. Now, the album kicks off with the pleasantly surprising Coffin, which guides you into like frontman Joel Birch's rusty growls with sort of like gloomy background instrumentals from the band, sets the tone to what's become. It may be the album opener, but Coffin packs more punch in terms of heaviness than anything from the previous couple albums. And then, boom, we hit into the next song, All My Friends Are Dead, and it pretty much just like from the start with Joel's brutally heavy screams of All My Friends Are Dead and Amity's mind-blowing first single from this album, which still, after all this time, hasn't grown old or tiring with each listen. Fans will have grown to realize that this is a combination of Joel's screams and Aaron's clean pretty much works so well, bouncing off one another, and you can't have a song from these guys without the two together. All right. Moving on to the next song on here, which is Soak Me in Bleach, which, since released, has had fans sometimes even bobbing their heads and chiming in with the repetitive lyrics of like soak me in bleach. I mean I won't gonna lie, you'd probably be singing along too, and I know it, if your neighbors know it, there's no hiding it now, embracing the fact that this band knows how to have pretty much catchy lyrics that'll be stuck in your head after listening to it a bunch of times. Anyway, All I do is sync, which keeps the momentum going of like Soak Me and Bleed, which with sort of like Dan's riffage being a focal point under like Joel's clear as fuck screams. And the pre-chorus upon first listen is a bit iffy. And there's like a finger clicking under Aaron's cleans, but by the second time it hits, it'll have you clicking along, especially with it drops him singing All I Seem to Do Is Sync before writing the song off. It gives sort of like a couple of listens before alternating vocal performances toward the end, which makes it a really standout that you'll have it pretty much going back for more. Next up is Baltimore Rain, which uses the lyrics "Smoke 'em if you got 'em," and I'm sorry, but that's an instant win in my eyes. And however, besides the fact the song is a bit more so on the repetitive side, and it's just missing something like additional from the chorus, and there is a signature Dan guitar solo towards the end, which only just makes up for above the criticism, and Joe's drum beats hit you in the face like an out-of-control 15-year-old crowd killer. Well, that's expected at shows like them, but yeah. Moving on to Aloneliness, I can never pronounce it, Aloneliness. I'm gonna say this pretty much sounds like Amity's attempt at like mainstream radio rock. Okay, you're not gonna believe this, but Joel is back again with sort of like his clean vocals from the last album, and despite sounding a little rusty at times, he actually pulls them off well with sort of like telling a story of preparing yourself for being alone. At times the song sounds a bit cluttered, but if you deconstruct with each listen, there's plenty of plenty of something that's going around, which deserves its attention, including like a great instrumental arrangement, hard-hitting and thought-provoking lyrics that are just as catchy in there, but overall, I think it's a pretty good song. Anyway, moving on to Forever, which kind of like sounds like something from a B-side to Misery. There's plenty of elements that make the album just as catchy and memorable, as including like Aaron's like oohs and the high notes throughout the chorus. But production-wise, it's far more advanced. There's screams, yells, sing-along sections, and a love song vibe to it, especially when the chorus goes, ooh, we can't live forever, ooh, but our love will never die. But yeah, I don't know, it just sounds a bit weird to me. Anyway, moving on to Just Like Me. We have sort of like Amity kind of like exploring new territory while whistling and finger clicking from earlier makes its return. It's a daring feat, but it does pay off at the end. It's kind of it feel like I tried to get into this, but it's just too poppy for my liking. But yeah, I don't think I see this song growing anytime soon. Anyway, Born to Lose, which is a tease. There, I said it. Which begins, you hear sort of like the heavy synth, new metal sound, and you think it's about to open the gates of hell, but suddenly it stops and turns into much a very melodic offering instead. But it's a song that'll keep you wanting more. What the chorus hits and Joe's belling and screamings come through, you get what you wanted when the track first begins. And Aaron's bass playing is on. And this is actually one of the first times you actually hear the bass. Kind of reminds me a little bit of like Korn in some sections, and sort of like the eerie synth guitar combo in the background. It just makes you watch the song is pretty much sounds better, but that's just me. Anyway, Fever Dream, which brings back sort of the background synth from Misery for this upbeat rock track, which in style could be a sibling of like Holier Than Heaven, but with the anthemic chorus sections, splendid drum fills, and their Dan guitar solo. And I could also see Amity using this song as like a closer at future gigs. Anyway, then the album closes with Catatonia, which is a fast-paced, headbang-inducing banger that pops up out of nowhere and just sends metalcore fans into frenzy. And Aaron's cleans are pretty much less produced, which is exceptional, as we know how good he is as a vocalist. I just think it's just really just a surprise song. Kind of like remind me of like something from like the Youngbloods days. Now overall, Everyone Loves You once you leave them, or it's just a good return to form for Amity. So if I had to give this album a score, I'm probably gonna give this a solid 8.5 out of 10. It's pretty good. Definitely a step up from Misery. So yep, that's my review of the new Amity Affliction, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it, and I'll see you all in the next video. And as always, keep it metal.